Hello everyone, my name is Samira and today we're going to be breaking down one of two myths and seeing if they are confirmed or busted. So our first myth is you cannot die from lack of sleep, but let's look at what this can mean in psychological terms. The lack of sleep would be called fatal insomnia and can be caused by putting the body through excessive sleep deprivation, also called sleep deprivation psychosis. Now, being in a constant state of sleep deprivation will not just affect your mood, like when you get woken up from a good nap but feel like you didn't get enough sleep, therefore you wake up irritated and upset, which honestly me too, but it can also affect your health. In an article from Cleveland Clinic, they explain 3 stages of the human sleep cycle. The first being the shortest one called light sleep, which begins right after you fall asleep, after you reach the second stage, deep sleep, which makes up about 45% of the entire sleep you have. This stage is important because research has shown it helps with learning. And the final stage, deepest sleep, or REM, which makes up about 25% of your entire sleep. Yet this stage is the most important because it is how the body will recover when you're sleeping. Now, without a proper sleep cycle, sleep deprivation can have a lot of negative effects on the body like mentioned before. Some of these effects include effects on the heart, meaning having high blood pressure and even heart attacks, having a higher risk at type 2 diabetes and obesity, having higher pain sensitivity and depression and anxiety. Severe symptoms can include uncontrollable eye movement, hand tremors, hallucinations, and more, like shown in the picture behind me. One of the biggest contributors to the research of sleeping is a researcher by the name of Randy Gardner, who wanted to test what happens when you lack sleep, and by doing so, he was able to provide the world with all kinds of information I spoke of earlier. Randy, along with 2 friends, heard of a avoidance sleep record of 260 hours, and for their science fair experiment wanted to beat the record. He would be the subject depriving himself of sleep while his friends monitored his physical and mental reactions. In total, Gardner went sleepless for 11 days and 24 minutes, 264 hours. In an interview with NPR, Gardner stated that 3 days into the experiment, he was really nauseous, and it went on for the rest of the experiment. He says, it was almost like an early Alzheimer's thing brought on by the lack of sleep. After the experiment ended, he was taken to the hospital and examined. Although he was perfectly healthy, his experiments helped support the studies of microsleeps and continuing with more research on the effects of sleep deprivation. Now, with Gardner's experiment and other research, we learned that after 24 hours without sleep, you will have slower reaction times, difficulty in making choices, and brain fog. After 36 hours, you will have headaches, microsleeps, and momentary hallucinations. After 48 hours, you will have increasing anxiety, muscle weakness, and feeling out of your own body. After 72 hours of no sleep, you will have disoriented thinking and delusion. And finally, after 96 hours of no sleep and more, you will be experiencing paranoia, possible seizures, violent and aggressive behaviors, and hallucinations. So, considering the experiment of Randy Gardner and the several effects of having sleep deprivation and insomnia, the myth that you can die due to the lack of sleep is true and therefore busted. Although it is rare, cases of sleep deprivation and insomnia causing death have been reported and connected to a lot of the symptoms and health concerns I mentioned, like organ failure and mental problems. This is also taking into consideration that lack of sleep can cause death through car accidents. In extreme cases, though, what is known as fatal familial insomnia, which is a genetic disorder, will make a person lose their ability to sleep, eventually leading to death. So yes, the myth that you can die of lack of sleep is very true, and it's definitely something everyone should be aware of. Now, looking at our second myth, babies have no memory until they are 5 years old, and figuring out if it's true or false. First, we're going to take a look at what memory looks like for a baby. A baby's memory is created on learning what is around them, like faces, sounds, and actions. An article done by Scientific American explains how infants are able to develop memories, but not the memories you will be able to remember, like your first day of school or going to a birthday party. This is due to infantile amnesia, which we'll get to later. They explain how even in the first days of life, a baby can learn and memorize the sound and face of their mother compared to a stranger. As months pass, a baby will be able to recognize more familiar faces and voices and will signal a smile to show so. Babies will also begin to learn and form memory through emotional care, like how the baby is held and taken care of, leaving an impression on how the baby will feel, according to an article by Psychology Today. Research done by psychologist Carolyn Brovey Collier at Rutgers University showed results in the learning and memory of infants. She conducted her research on babies under 2 years old with a goal to prove the ability babies have to remember things over different periods of time. Her research began when she noticed her son was happy when the mobile over his crib was moving and upset when it wasn't. She decided to tie a ribbon on her son's ankle and mobile, and by doing so he can kick his ankle, making the mobile move. What she noticed is that after time her son began to kick his leg even when the mobile wasn't attached. A similar study was done with babies between 6 to 18 months of age, where they sat on their parents' lap with a lever in front of them, allowing them to move a train around a track. Experimenters purposely made the lever not work at first, to see the reactions of the babies. After, they would allow the lever to work and notice the babies used their memory to keep pulling the lever down, making the train move. Now let's take a look at why most of these memories from an early age weren't remembered. Like mentioned earlier, the term infantile amnesia is what researchers believe is the reason for not being able to remember these early childhood memories. This psychological term refers to the absence of early memories. A theory of this absence in memory comes from the hippocampus, a part of the brain essential for episodic memory, which at this young stage of life is not fully developed. Other theories suggest as the brain is maturing, the ability to organize these memories become difficult to organize. So with our research from Collier and our understanding of early memory for babies, it is safe to conclude that yes, babies can remember things before 5, therefore this myth is busted and false. Thank you, everyone.